especially for, and you need to have an understanding of the blocking and tackling, just the fundamentals of running a campaign. You can be an outsider, but you need to find your way in, I think, at a lower level than running for president. Otherwise, you end up with a lot of problems and your campaign doesn't go anywhere, and you, in some cases, can cause your party problems because you say and do things that may seem normal in the real world, but they just don't play well presidentially. And again, especially in the age of Twitter and Facebook, where, you know, every extended quote becomes a one-sentence cropped gaffe, fair or not. And a lot of times it's not fair, but it doesn't matter.
What does that say at all? We are awash daily in so many ideas, suggestions, and opinions when it comes to such things as how the Republicans might be wildly successful. Anything and everything the left says, to every candidate carrying around a personalized Ouija board and have a soothsayer on the payroll to ward off evil spirits. But the real answer just might be something so much simpler. Let's welcome to MidPoint, senior contributor for the Daily Caller, contributing editor for The Week, the man with the answer. Matt Lewis joins us today on MidPoint. Matt, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Matt, here we go. Right at the title of the article, the best way for conservatives to derail Obama is to shut up and stay out of the news. Matt, honestly, please, we both work in the same business here in journalism. Did you really think that this was something that people would take to heart?
Well, I don't think they'll actually follow my advice, no. But I do think it's good advice. And look, I mean, I think you can certainly make an argument that my critics will say, look, no, you need to be out there driving the debate. You need to be out there framing the discussion. And there's something to that. But look, I mean, I think it's just pretty clear through observation that when left to his own devices, Barack Obama looks pretty bad. And I've seen it happen often where the press is writing, you know, story after story about how bad Barack Obama's doing, how he's checked out. And then the Republicans will inject themselves into the debate and change the subject. They just did it about a week ago. And I think it's really counterproductive. They should, you know, the saying, never interfere with your opponent when he's in the process of committing suicide.
But isn't that really the great advice? Because doesn't every politician sooner or later commit suicide?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, look, there was certainly a time when Barack Obama first came on the scene when he could do no wrong. And I think that Republicans probably wisely figured out that they had to attack him and they had to go on the offense a little bit. But I think we're now at a point where he's a lame duck. I think he has lost a lot of the press. And I do think that's, you know, think of about a year ago, last October, we had this situation where the Republicans shut the government down. And we had weeks and weeks of bad stories about Republicans doing that. And in fact, you know, Ken Cuccinelli, the gubernatorial candidate in Virginia, believes that that's what cost him the election. Well, it turns out that once the government was reopened, the story shifted to the horrible Obamacare rollout, the healthcare.gov website debacle. Had Republicans not been involved in that government shutdown, we would have probably had we already had like months worth of coverage of how bad this rollout was. It would have started even sooner. Sometimes the best strategy, believe it or not, is to just get out of the way.
Do we not, though, have an instance, and we just saw some video of John Boehner at a press conference. Many times the politicians have been romanced by the media. And the media, many times, is what drives them. And doesn't the public, though, just demand, one way or another, that you get out there, that you say things? They want you to say things. They need discourse. It really is what the American electorate wants more than anything else. So isn't it tough for not just Republicans, but Democrats, basically, to shut up?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's really tough now. I mean, you know, they say politics is Hollywood for ugly people. A lot of people get into politics the same reason people get into journalism. They like hearing themselves talk. They want to see their name in lights. And I think that they like generating buzz and getting attention and being quoted in the newspaper. And Republicans have an additional problem, which is that there's no, you know, de facto leader. You know, the Obama administration could theoretically say, we're going to go radio silent. And it's possible somebody will leak information, but by and large, if Obama says we're going to shut up about this, nobody's going to, some backbench Republican congressman, not to go talk to the Daily Caller or Newsmax. And they might say something that would totally shift the entire media news cycle for a day or two based on something that one member of Congress said off message. It just so happens that unfortunately for Republicans, that keeps happening, and I think it detracts from the stories about how Barack Obama really seems to have checked out while the world is crumbling.
There's a story out there in the Washington Post that talks about Democrats have an enthusiasm problem, and that is their biggest problem right now. So let's look at Hillary Clinton here, somebody who certainly drives a lot of enthusiasm for the Democrats, but she has come out, she has said things, she's been on a book tour here. Is that almost a prime example of sometimes just let it ride, say something simple. You can drive enthusiasm, but you've got to be careful because everything you say is going to be ripped apart by you and me and everybody else, and we're going to find a way to find controversy in there somewhere, and if you just stayed quiet, everything would be fine.
Exactly. I mean, look, this is the business we're in. We're as guilty as anybody. We want click things so that we can write about it and get Drudge to link to it and go on TV and talk about it. And the truth is, look, I completely believe that the media is biased. I mean, there is a liberal worldview in the media. You can't deny that. But having said that, they have, there are times when they're tough. They were tough on Hillary Clinton. I mean, Hillary Clinton, when her book came out, there were a couple of weeks of really tough questioning and coverage of how she may not quite be ready for prime time. I mean, she went on NPR's Fresh Air with Terry Gross and got hammered for crying out loud. And, the only way to interrupt that, is for Republicans to inject themselves and change the conversation. The media would certainly oblige. They'd love to cover Republicans saying something stupid. So maybe deprive them of the opportunity is not a bad idea.
10 seconds, quick answer here. End of your article, if they can do 60 days.
I don't think they can do 60 days, but I think that they'll do it good enough that they will take the Senate in November.
Okay, there. We'll leave it at there, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss 2016 when we get around there as well. Great article, Matt. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Okay, next hour here on MidPoint, it's been talked about and panicked about, but would terrorists truly focus on the American southern border? After the break, one big island, two massive storms. The event of a generation is happening as we speak in Hawaii, and it's on News Call. That's all to come right here on MidPoint, where we question everything.